Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? I seen there was no volume there. No sound. Still no sound. Okay, I need to figure that one out. This is my first live stream, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to get a few things wrong, definitely. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Ah, you can hear me. You just couldn't hear the video, was it? Let me play some other... Can you hear that? Can you hear the music in the background? Oh, you hear the video as well? Alright, that's good. That's good. What do you think of my video? That's to buy myself an extra 90 seconds to try and get everything ready, and I still failed. I like this music. This is what I have as well on the this is our podcast introduction and outro. It's just a bit relaxing, like you're all very stressed watching all your live streams all week. You could do with this on a Sunday. So where's everyone watching from? Oh, I can see Jason. Hi Jason, how's things? Cleo was found. Cleo was found, but what I want to do is have a look at two cases where the parents were innocent and two where we're not so sure. Well, there's one where they're definitely innocent, and then we'll talk about two. There's two where they're definitely innocent, but then we'll talk about the other ones. But I think it's good to kind of compare and contrast. I want to start with the Cleo one. It's the longest, and then the other three are kind of fast after that. But I think there's good kind of lessons there from the Cleo one, because this was 10 days. She was missing 10 days at the time, and it was the behaviour panel kind of had a look at it. And one of them in particular is very kind of sceptical, but I think it's interesting how they talk about the red flags, and like looking back at it now, it's in completely different context, because at the time we didn't know. So I want to start with Cleo and then maybe have a look at Karmarie Holland's mother. I'm not sure whether many of you have seen that. Michael Vaughan. And then end with Don and Candace. I wonder, will Don and Candace seem different now, the fact that you kind of just after looking at three, you know? So that's my plan. I'm going to try to have a live stream every Sunday, but just try and have a bit of a plan, bit of a structure around it. We've two other member ones as well, one in the morning and one later on, just kind of going over the content I'll be going over for the week and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to try and share my screen now, hopefully. The TV I should learn from him. Do you like the music, Brenda? Or is it? It's just a bit calming, isn't it, when you're starting? Oh, Anna, look at your lovely badge. Guys, I've pinned a link at the top of the chat as well. If there is anybody, especially from Australia, who can come up and kind of talk about this case and what it was like at the time as well. Like, did you think they were guilty? Many of your friends? Stuff like that. The link is at the top of the chat. Feel free to hit it and come up anytime. That's my music. Copyright free. Right, I'm going to go straight into it. So this is the behaviour panel analysing Karmarie Holland's Cleo Smith's parents. Like I said, this is the longest one, and then we kind of speed it up with the other kind of two after that. So the first question is the last time that they spoke to their daughter. I hope you can hear this now. Let me know if you can't, will you?
The last time you spoke to her? Do you remember what you said?
I asked her to get back into bed after she had a sip of water. Put my head through to check on Isla, and that was it. That was the last time.
And again, I know you absolutely don't want to revisit that night. So about 1:30, she stirs, she's thirsty, and then at about 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, you realise she's not there.
Yeah.
Can you describe what that feels like?
Heartbreaking, heart-wrenching.
Scary.
Completely scary. I mean...
She looks gutted, doesn't she? And I know when I thought he's actually the stepfather, and you can tell he's very passive. But you do wonder, was he a bit quiet? And like a lot of people were coming for him for that. But he's in a very awkward position because one, he's a step parent, and two, you're going to feel a small bit responsible as well. The fact that they I think they weren't camping in a while. It's been a while since they were camping because Cleo's sleeping bag was taken as well. Kind of made people think that maybe was she buried in that or something like that. Oh, there's someone here. Oh no. He is the husband. The husband is really quiet, but I think that's just his demeanour in general. Like, I think she kind of wears the kind of pants in the relationship, and he's the stepfather, so he's going to feel responsible to her, and he'll feel responsible to the father as well, I assume. There's actually a documentary coming out on 60 Minutes Australia soon. I must get the exact date where they're sitting down for an interview with him. It's going to be very, very interesting because they touch on it here. I say the abuse that they got on social media was crazy.
How are you meant to feel?
All right, Chase, what do you got?
I'm going to share something here that's not relevant to the case. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to share with you some
So I know
forensic criminal,
because he's not sent on her for a minute or two. But I think Scott is the one here out of all the three who won't let it go. He's convinced there's kind of something there for a long time, and they do pull back on it in the end. But like, they would have known as well that the LE were ruling them out at the time. I would think I would love to see this very early on, or if they didn't have any information at all from the LE over in Australia, I'd love to see what they thought, because we've seen kind of before with them that they get loads of things right, but they can get it terribly wrong as well. The Gabby Petito case, for example.
use of pronouns, which I think is interesting. And it would be a red flag if it was stacked up with some other stuff. But what we look for are clusters and changes in someone's baseline. There's some confirmation glances here back to the husband, but it's specifically during times of support and times to communicate and dually communicate facts. There's no pupil dilation, and I was grateful. I have a giant screen that I bring it up on in the morning. I'm kind of standing here drinking my coffee and watch this thing, and there's no pupil dilation. She's not wearing any makeup. There's honest signals. She's communicating, and even the husband offers the word scary, and she doesn't repeat the word verbatim. She adds to the feeling of scary, which I think are all honest signals.
I think Chase is one of the ones in this as well who's convinced that they have nothing got to do with it. But he has some experience, and he talks about it later on with kind of Australian culture and stuff like that.
I'm going to go down the road that shows you all the red flags, or a lot of them, because I know Greg's got a ton of them too, and then why they aren't red flags. I'll just point them out and we'll talk about those. So the first one is they look really relaxed. You know, we were talking earlier in here, and their arms are crossed. It's the first thing people are going to say. That means absolutely nothing most of the time. I know you hear it means people are turned off, not into what you have to say. Most of the time it means absolutely
I like them too, Star.
zero.
I just think they should
And that's
have
the case
a
here.
woman
They're
on.
probably just worried. It's probably a pacifying gesture where they're sort of holding on to themselves because they're tired and they're a little freaked out. People will also say there's no grief on the father. You're not seeing anything. All you're seeing is his eyebrows up like this the whole time, or most of the time, and no grief up here. In this situation, I think it might be one of those cases where she's the one that's in charge most of the time, and he doesn't say much anyway. So I think that's what we might be seeing in that situation. The thing that I did think was odd, though, was when they do make eye contact, it's brief, and he darts away every time. When she looks at him, he looks, and bang, it's gone. Even though he may look at her shoulder or something like that. That's a red flag. I said, I don't know what's going on there. These little mouth ticks. He has somewhere between 3,000 and 7,000 little mouth ticks he uses the whole time. In the first video we watched, where it's just both of them sitting there, that's all he did. He had mouth ticks the whole time, and a lot of them are different. He's got so many different kinds. There's
a great point coming up here on the mouth ticks.
Up, which is normal in this situation. There's not much crying, not a whole lot of tears. There are in some spots. They're probably cried out, probably teared out by this point. No anger or fear. That kind of, you look at that and go, wonder why no anger or fear. They probably told this story 50 times before they sat down to talk to this guy about this story. And for a little bit, you see a couple of times the father shows contempt or disdain because his mouth goes up a little bit. That's because he does it all the time and out of context with what's happening. So it means absolutely nothing. Some of the things that I saw were also odd, where you see him kind of laugh and smile some. At this point, you're looking for anything to help you, to help ease the pain some. Plus the fact they're thinking about her, they're reliving seeing her. So you'll see in the worst situations, when somebody's describing someone's death, sometimes they'll smile as they talk about that person specifically. When the guy says, can you describe what it feels like the feeling they're having? And she says, but she doesn't freak out, doesn't lose her mind, doesn't do all that. That kind of bothered me because her relaying her feelings weren't as aggressive as I thought they would be. One thing I thought was fascinating for people into micro expressions was when the guy asking the question says 6 or 6:30. Right when he says 6:30, watch the left side of her mouth. It barely pokes in a little bit. You'll see that.
He's all out to get something. He is.
Her mouth is getting ready to move, or she's thinking about moving or something. But it's really interesting to see a little pop in there. What it means, I have no earthly idea at this point. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you I watched this video over and over and over and over because there are red flags in here. And I'm going to point out those red flags because it means something, but it may or may not mean what you think it means. Number one, if you look at her face, we're going to have to take into account her face, her baseline. Her baseline is a little smiley.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go look at the first interview, the corners of her mouth turn up. Her cheeks are kind of full, and it's difficult to see some of the things in a very gaunt. It's tougher to pick up on that baseline. That's number one. Number two, if you go all the way back, and we're going to show you at the end, the first day versus now, there's a thing called adrenal fatigue. The longer you go through a feeling more, or
that grow from the 4th day to the 10th day, they're exhausted. Can you imagine it?
While your mucous membranes drain, your face starts to sag. And her face certainly is sagged from day 4 to day 10. So we'll look at that as a cue to know something has changed. Her eyes are cast down and to the right. Then this guy's name is Tim McMillan. I think that's right. He is somebody. I mean, I don't know him because I'm not from Australia, but he is somebody in Australian TV. And I often will remind people that if you're a normal person, the first time you encounter someone you watch.
Guys, is there anyone here who was watching at the time who was suspicious of him? Be honest.
Game was many years ago, and I was doing some questioning training for some people at ABC, and Ted Koppel called and asked for me by name and asked me to come on Nightline. Now, you may or may not know who he is, but he was a pretty big deal in his day. And I remember the first time I met him and Alan Dershowitz on the same show.
That's all you need,
I
Anna.
put a little kind of put back. It was the first time I'd been on national TV. So imagine if you're now missing a child and that's going to do all kinds of things to you. If you pay attention to her, he asks a question. What was the last thing?
You would too. You'd be nervous wreck when you're going on. You're like, one, you have a missing child, and then you're going on national TV with a reporter that you know after 10 the problems.
That. Watch the boyfriend, husband. He does hard eye contact and looks from under his brow ridge at a glance at a corner. That's aggression of, hey, what are you about to say to her? Now, whether he's aggressive enough or not, different story, but that is what it is. If you really pay attention, he has his jaw set, his mouth closed, and he's paying attention. The sides of her mouth are drawn down for her. And that means that she's sad and it's starting to show. And if you got to go back and compare it to herself. And then eyes are down right. Her whole face is kind of melted and loose. And then she does a slight roll up of her eyes to the left, which I call instinctive tear fighting. You'll find women doing it.
Fair play for admitting that pomegranate. I do wonder, is there going to be a lot of people similar with Candace Wells?
You see him break eye contact down, and that can mean defeat, or that can mean that he's feeling less than equipped for the situation with this guy, Tim McMillan. That's what I see. A lot of that looks like red flags because of the lack of tears, because of the smiley face, but look, compared to baseline. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so look, statistically speaking, you would be right to be first of all looking at the male as a perpetrator, and then if that didn't work out
Mark,
for you,
it's very good
you'd look to the female as a perpetrator, and if that didn't work for you, you'd go elsewhere. So if you use statistics and you start looking at this body language, you're going to have a bias. Your bias could be accurate or inaccurate or something in between, but you're going to have a bias. Suspend that bias for a moment, because just as everybody said, individually, you can see some red flags. Will they cluster together? Or are they actually red flags, or is it your bias that goes, well, that's exactly what I was looking for? So let's have a look at these glances that they give each other. And just as Scott says, they are glances. They come together and they flick away. And you...
Liplock and more, thank you for joining. Guys, everyone check out Liplock, Susan's account. She's amazing. She's a brilliant creator. She sings us songs constantly on her live, and she's an amazing heart.
Around together forever. They will always look complicit with each other, or they will be synchronized. That doesn't mean that they are conspiratorial in any way, but it would be easy to mistake all that movement together as they've worked something out and they're looking for approval for each other. I agree with you, Chase. So I put down and is about. Weren't we seeing any tears or much tears? Well, because you see the female looks up at one point and drains the tears immediately. Chase, you always say this better than I do, and so I'll kind of paraphrase it, but it's how much time are they spending on perception management rather than, and their innocence, rather than time on the child. I can't remember. What is the phrase that you usually say around that? Because you say it better than I do, Chase.
This is important.
Is it focused on the story, the child, or is it focused on their story?
We'll see difference now later on.
So she drains her tears because it's not focused on her feelings. She wants it to be about the child. She wants to get that story out. We're going to see later.
That's a great point. She doesn't care about herself or her own feelings. She holds them back to get the story out. Later on now you'll see other people who aren't really saying the story of the child, but they're going out telling their story and how they're not involved.
Process of going, control your feelings, control your emotions here. And so that's why we're not seeing the tears. She drains them. They talk about checking on Isla, and that was it. Yeah, we do get this corner of the mouth tightening on the male. I agree with you, Scott. It could be a tick.
I wonder, should I speed it up a small bit when they're talking? Would you notice if I put it at 1.5? Will I try it? Because, like I said, this is the longest one, but once we get through this, we'll fly it.
You're going to see Jupiter's delight I would imagine. You're going to go, hang on, what was that? That was that little smile of
That's a bit
delight in
fast.
duping. I don't think that's the case at all. So, look, as we go through,
okay,
we're going to
is
see
it?
quite a lot of stuff that,
Is it
if you've
okay?
got a
Will I
bias,
put
you're
it
going to
down to
see
1.2?
as a red flag alone is not enough. And you got to check your bias, and you got to
Just
collect
for when they're
real
talking.
information and real indicators of deceit or hiding something away here. I don't see any so far. Yeah, that's what I got.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying actually having to get back, so I'm going to leave it.
The last you spoke to? Do you remember what you said?
I asked her to get back into bed after she had a sip of water. Put my head through to check on Isla, and that was it. That was the last time.
Hi, Tonya.
Again, I know you absolutely don't want to revisit that night. So about 1:30, she stirs. She's thirsty. And then at about 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, realize shit. Can you describe what that feels like?
Heartbreaking, heart-wrenching,
Scary.
completely scary. I mean, how are you meant to feel?
How are you meant to feel?
All right, let's move along.
What happens after that? I know you stayed at the blowholes for some time until Friday. You said you wouldn't leave there without Cleo.
That's a very common thing as well. We've seen that with the Madeleine McCann case, which might suggest even to this one's that they're innocent, but they don't want to leave the area. Michael's Vaughan mother didn't want to leave outside. She was outside for months searching.
Face each other. We have to go now.
I just want to say confirm the search. And
It was
that she
done.
wasn't there.
Did you feel like that moment was coming?
We held hope, but the hope of her being there was slowly slipping away.
In recent days, we've seen forensic officers pouring over
Listen
your
to
house.
the difference.
I mean,
I don't know.
this is your family home. This is Cleo's home. How do you process that?
I guess we just hold hope that there's something there that
Get
they can
something from
find.
Something
Like
can
they're
happen to
hopeful.
things.
They're
Yeah.
encouraging the
Anything.
searchers, pleading with them to keep
I mean,
going.
if it's someone that's been watching for who knows how long, hopefully they pick something up that will help.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so she starts this one off with drawn corners to her mouth. And that drawn corners to her mouth, if you go back and you look at the thing we did with Dr. Phil, the thing that they put on the air was me going about disappointment with Tarek making up stuff. And it was clear. So you can see that disappointment as she pulls her mouth back. She may look a little smirky in the curves of her mouth because of her bone structure. But he's got his eyes cast down and to the right. At one point when,
What do you think
the
is
questioner starts to ask the
is
next
weird about
question,
it, Megan?
she gets prepared to
curious.
fight. She's not sure where this question is
It's
going.
rare. It doesn't
And her
happen
eyes
much,
get
but
set,
it did
and she's
happen.
waiting for him to finish. You can see her paying attention to make sure where that question is going. And this is when we see the first time she does this confirmation clench, is what I'm going to call it. You'll see it 9 times in this interview. That's that kind of, I don't do it exactly the way she does, but she does a lip compression, her forehead goes smooth, and she is confirming what he is saying. When I first watched it, I was like, that's an odd thing. But she uses it many times through here. I counted every one of them, and I even have timestamps for every one of them in the interview. And it's 9 times she confirms something. So, yep, that's it, is what she's saying. She does a heavy swallow, her eyes block, and she is blocking emotion at that point. When she starts to talk about the little girl missing and they've given up hope, or you can see then that she gets a little disgust in her face, and it's not really pronounced. Her nose does not wrinkle as much as I expect to see.
I
The
think so,
hopelessness
Sarah.
and emotion starts to show.
Like
And
whether
then
you
she
thought they were
raises her
innocent or
brow,
guilty, you could probably
and,
find it
looks
in,
like it
in this
could be,
video.
this is one of those red flags where you see her forehead go up and you think, okay, that's request for approval. But that muscle, that W-shaped muscle, comes through that request for approval, showing that there's actual grief in her face. That's what I see. And this is the beginning of, for me, saying it doesn't matter what red flags I'm seeing. I see real grief blasting through her request for approval, blasting through that forehead. That's a great indicator. Because, guys, if you think back to all the videos we've shown you about fakers, they're trying to do grief, but their forehead is holding up so tight that it removes all of that in the glabella in there. Scott, what do you got?
All right. And I agree with you on the confirmation grip there, the CG, because I've got confirmation of acceptance there's for mine. So, yeah, I'm with you. I won't go over all that stuff. So let me scooch down. The father still, man, those mouth ticks are firing off, but that's from stress, and that seems fairly normal for his baseline so far. He doesn't add a whole lot to it. When the interviewer says, the hope of her being there was slowly slipping away. When she starts talking after that, when the mother does, classic thing where she starts, it's not fading facts. She's her voice, I don't want to say vocal fry, but it's heading that direction because she doesn't want to say that. She hates saying that. And she as she's saying it, she's realizing it at the same time, and it makes her feel terrible. So I think that's what's happening there. A lot of deep breaths, and that's all from adapting to what's going on. And then you see a little left shoulder shrug. That just indicates she's not sure about that situation and what's being said or what's happening because they don't know either. So people see that and say, "Oh, the absolutist. She's lying." What the hell would she be lying about at that point?
Sarah,
what they were saying? No. So it's another.
You're right though.
Example of what most people think is a single shoulder shrug. It's just fired off because she's not sure what's happening with him. Might be short at that point. I'll leave it there. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so look at that moment of synchronization right off the top there when they're talking about that moment when they were confirming the search is done. They turn at exactly the same time. They look at each other for that moment. Look, it would be super easy to go, oh, yeah, they're checking each other on the story. That moment of synchronization is only the moment you get with people who've been together for years and years and years and years, and they can feel each other breathing in sync. They spend their whole life together. It's that kind of moment. Okay. So don't, again, look at that as conspiratorial. Great word, means to conspire, to literally breathe together. They breathe together as a unit all the time anyway. There's no talk here of their innocence or diminishing the effectiveness of the search. You know, often in situations like this, we've heard people, Don
Wells. I think that's who he's referring to here. Even when Don said he feels sorry for the searchers, you like, it's hard. I know I talked about before how his mind went to the worst place at the start, but it's hard to have empathy. You wouldn't care. You'd be thanking them and encouraging them and please keep going, go through it. I need to find my child.
They kind of imply their innocence in some way, and they'll usually dismiss the idea of the search. These people are like, no, like the search is important. That search wasn't working. Let's search the home. Okay. And they're open to that. They're not saying, hey, they're searching the home, but I don't think they're going to find anything. They're wanting people to find something. What do we see in the cameras? We've always got to be careful of the media, always. All media has some kind of agenda at some point, but they are showing us the dusting for fingerprints on the outside of the windows. So they're implying to us that they're looking for some external person, a stalker of some sort, maybe. So there's an implication here that we should look outside the home rather than inside the home for the perpetrator here. Just one last thing here. If you playing bingo on this with hard at all, because you can't win at this piece of bingo if you have chaff and redirect, because I'm going to guarantee you that it's not going to be said today. It's not going to, and if...
You just said it.
Oh, damn.
And I'm going to say it later.
Oh, are you? Okay. Well, you know, then it stays. So, you know, I don't think we're going to get a lot of the classic elements that we'd be looking for if we'd got
You would,
a
wouldn't you? You'd be just
perpetrator in those
thanking
two
them and begging them to
people.
keep going.
Could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to win the bingo. Well, you will now, because I said it. Greg says he's going to say it. I don't know how he's going to get it in. I don't know how you're going to get it in, Greg.
I'll show you.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
I'll help you out with a bingo card. Fading fact. So, which isn't present here in this video either.
No.
But I said it earlier. Remember, I said it's not.
Oh,
I just said that.
That's interesting, Brenda, that you say that, because in most cases where there's a child goes missing or a child dies young, even if it's subconsciously, the parents will blame each other, and they'll usually end up kind of splitting because of that. That's what makes me suspicious about things like Madeleine McCann or John Benet Ramsey. The fact that they stayed together might be more of a sign that they're in on it. They're in on it together.
What you guys were talking about just a second ago with this little facial tic, I think that's very common in people with newly grown facial hair, to move those muscles around and just kind of move that hair out of place. So I've seen that pretty often in people. There's some eye closure at the mention of a stalker. And I think that was just
Because it's terrifying.
her acknowledging is probably not likely. And even according to FBI statistics, the British research that's been done on this, all the statistics that we've got on this type of person, this is a crime of opportunity most of the time. This is not something that's commonly planned out or anything like that. And in reality, these people are typically doing this on a whim and doing it just because some kind of opportunity presents itself. I do think it's interesting that the husband's making almost no eye contact and even going so far as to avoid eye contact. I don't think this is guilty. I think this is probably part of his baseline. We don't have a whole lot of video to go back and look at, but I think it's a good data.
But a shame as well.
However,
You'd be disgusted if this happened
even
on
if
your watch.
I might imagine someone is guilty and still saw this avoidance of eye contact, I would still not rank it as being deceptive, because it's there. We look for clusters. We're looking for clusters. I know there's a lot of what they call later in another video, armchair detectives who are going to see one behavior and say, oh, I read an article on LinkedIn once and I know how to detect lies. So, and that's where you see this crap where it says one thing equals deception. And I think when we're talking about these confirmation glances between them looking at each other, confirmation glances are less common if there is a made up story. They're also, if it's deception between two people who are being questioned, it's most likely to happen at the very beginning and not in the middle or end of one of those statements. So I think the confirmation glance is a normal thing that they're doing. And I think she's looking back because she's used to taking charge of,
and he did
probably lots of stuff, and to see if he has anything to say before she starts answering the question. That's all I got.
Case, I learned in high school that this meant you're closing me out, and if I do this when I'm saying yes, it means that I'm lying. So it must be true.
And this is lying.
Yep.
What happens after that? I know you stayed at the blowholes for some time until Friday. You said you wouldn't leave there without Cleo.
We had to.
You had to.
It got to a
At what point did you have to face each other and say, we have to go now?
Once they
looking
confirmed
at
the
each other
search, and
It was
that she
done.
It's
wasn't there.
comfort. Every time they need a bit of comfort or clarification.
Did you feel like that
We're
moment
speaking
was
for
going?
we.
We held hope, but the hope of her being there was slowly slipping away.
Hi, Carol.
In recent days, we've seen forensic officers poring over your house. I mean, this is your family home. This is Cleo's home. How do you process that?
much on a guest account. I don't have premium.
I guess we just hold hope that there's something there that
Get
they can
something from
find.
Something can help the case.
Yeah, anything. I mean, if it's someone that's been watching for who knows how long, hopefully they pick something up that will help.
This is a really uncomfortable question to ask, but I know that we spoke about it beforehand, so you know what's coming. And you know that, unfortunately, you know, when cases like this come up, a lot of people fancy themselves as amateur detectives.
Yep.
And there's always going to be speculation that mum and or dad might be involved and have a case to answer. So I have to ask the question.
He doesn't have to.
Jake, is there anything that you're not telling us?
Like, has anyone ever turned around and admitted it to a reporter? Been like, do you know what? Seen as you asked, yes, it was me. We all know what they were going to say, but people just want to analyse how they said it. Really.
No, nothing.
Anything you haven't told police at this point?
No, nothing.
So you or no one that you know has anything to do
No,
with
nothing.
Cleo's disappearance?
No.
And Ellie, I have to ask you the same question.
No way. We love our daughter
Exactly.
and we want her home.
Okay, I'm going to go first on this one. So I'm going to get mine out of the way. I have one thing, and that's it. As when he says, when she says, we love our daughter, and he says, exactly, right? This bugs me to no end. And the problem with it is,
He's caught up in it, isn't he?
his whisper, and she looks like she's holding something back. She wants to say something after that. It could be, again, that confirmational case is over with that stress mouth. This is the one that bugs me, though. This is the one I'm not going to be able to get past. Because if I saw this in a couple other places, I'd be up there so quick it wouldn't be funny. This bugs me. So I'm gonna so I can stand out. I'm gonna leave it right there.
With those
Chase, what do
credentials
you
to be
got?
saying that during a case.
I'll just read off the red flags here. And then I'll let Greg or Mark just dismantle me. Because I want to lead. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Maybe one of you guys can disarm these things. I think it would be important for me to come at this like a YouTube commenter, and then you guys could explain what we're actually seeing here. Maybe that'll be fun, or maybe we'll edit all of this out.
What else did they add on out?
All of it.
The mother matches the interviewer's eyebrow flash, which I thought was fascinating and great. It's a truthful signal. The husband, there's some contempt on the face is what most people would see. There's a little bit of fading answers, which most people will see. There's some eye contact avoidance. And I think there's an increase in the blink rate during the denial specifically. And the mother has some lip compression with some of these. And lip compression could denote or
Is it
indicate,
tomorrow Donna's in court? I thought it
like
was Tuesday.
Greg and Scott were talking about, a lot of things. And confirmation might be one of them. And the other two are equally plausible. One being withheld opinions, not facts. And two being shared grief. Like there's some kind of shared grief about answering that question. And I think it's strange, along with what, Scott, you were just saying, this confirmation glance to the father during the statement of "we love our daughter," and the final red flag, maybe it's an orange flag. Would be no mention of Cleo.
Was the answer to
Okay,
one
so
of
his expression on "we love
Well,
our
then.
daughter," I'm
You
going
clarify one
to and his answer to that, I'm going to put down that to the complications of being a stepfather. Okay. Now, again, anybody else
That's a great point.
understand what I'm talking about in terms of those complications? And some people out there might go, no, it's not complicated at all. You'd be able to give a very clear, very straight answer around that. There would be zero psychological complications.
Going to say here now as well, bro, from other cases, that a step parent will lose hope a lot faster than the actual parent.
When anybody ever mentions our daughter, and the brain absolutely goes, yeah, that's just like my biological progeny, and I have exactly the same internal response. Okay, so I'm going to put it down to that. I will say, look, we have a no, nothing, and a shake of the head at the same time. Very clear around that. The downward glances that we see, I'm going to say they're submissive gestures. I think from this male, we see a consistent level of submission that I think we don't want to see when we see a child
That's true, we don't.
taken. I think what we want to see is a very, very strong male getting aggressive and going out and getting that kid. And I don't think we see that here. If there was any complicity in this event, I think that's just him.
No, we definitely want to see that. And I was actually looking last night and I seen a comment and I tried to find it and I couldn't. But it was saying all the neighbours on Bell Hill Road and everyone on the doors, people were telling them get out and hunt them away. Does anyone know if that's definitely true? If he was doing that, if he was calling to all the neighbours asking them did they see anything?
Feelings to that and make him bad around that. Listen, and a lot of the stuff we're hearing there, so we might get some fading facts and we might get some upward inflection, and also we're going to see the lips tighten here, and also we're going to hear the mouth not open very much, and that is the kind of accent that you get in Australia. I mean, there's a lot of Aussies out there who are going to rip me for this accent, but you know, there's parts of Australia where you have to keep your mouth very closed so the dust doesn't get down there. And so that's the baseline. That's the baseline of the fading facts, because the mouth closed.
Is that true? Anyone in Australia, whether that's true?
Is at the end, so the dust originally came from and hit that dust in Australia, and the mouth closed up. In order to deal with that, you go to some other areas, Melbourne, and the mouth will open really wide, you know, around things even more.
I hope that's true.
Darwin,
I love little things like that.
To let the heat in, and but we're getting an accent here, and we're not used to that accent and that mouth movement. So we're going to see some tight-lipped behaviour, but it's about the way the mouth consistently moves to produce that particular Australian accent, I would say. But Aussies, be prepared to rip me as a palm for any of that. You know, I'm a good bloke for it. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to follow the same thing. There are red flags, certainly, for me.
Sorry, you're hilarious.
We're asking a question, did you harm your daughter? We just did the same thing to someone not long ago. So you know when you're asking someone that, how they're going to respond. It's going to increase stress. We do see stress increase. As a matter of fact, if you really pay attention, you'll see when they first asked Jake, you'll see his blink rate increase. You'll see his respiration pick up a little. He's a side of the mouth talker. I think that's what you're seeing when he's doing this. I don't think he's open-mouthed and straight on. There could be a lot of reasons for that. It might not be that he's not a strong person. It might be he has authority problems in his past. He's been in some kind of trouble, and she might be speaking because of that. He might say, I don't talk good.
I hope he doesn't see this.
And they feel like
he definitely did.
Lots of reasons. I'm not going to try to figure that out. Not my business. What I'm going to say is he's deferential. He breaks eye contact down to this interviewer. He talks out of the side of his mouth. That's non-confrontational. Why? Don't know. Don't have enough bandwidth to figure that out with this little video. But I do see a rise in stress level in both of them. She starts to either do batter up, which is when you rub your thighs, like a batter standing in the batter's box getting ready, or she's rubbing his hand. That's an adapter. There's nervous energy going out. Then she does this confirmation clinch, and this is the one that made me really early on think, something is up. This one made me really concerned because you're talking about something very difficult, and suddenly that thing shows up. That usually means we're containing information.
She doesn't want to talk about it.
It took me watching all 9 instances and going to the final one where there's no reason for her to be lying about anything, and seeing it for me to be okay with this. There's a lot of red flags here that make me want to pay attention. His avoiding eye contact as he's talking is one for sure, but there is a very style. Chase, you always use strong positive denial. We always expect it. No way. And her head says no way at the same time her body and her mouth
That's
are
true,
saying
Carol. I hope they do as well.
That makes you have more faith that what they're saying is true. Also remembering that this is probably already, this is 10 days in, already the internet traffic is brutal, I guarantee you. So they're prepared for whatever's coming. And, you know, we did the Don Wells case.
I don't think there's anyone can be prepared for that.
The amount of traffic we've gotten in comments, you know, in the tens of thousands of comments on some of these, and we're not the people. Imagine putting yourself in front of that. So I think
and you'd be caught in two minds as well, because you suddenly have this platform and you're screaming for help, anybody to be able to help, but anytime you go on there or post anything, you're just getting probably DMs and messages telling you that you're guilty and you don't know.
Question to ask, but I know that you know what's coming, and you know that unfortunately, you know, when cases like this come up, a lot of people fancy themselves as amateur detectives.
I was looking for you this morning.
And there's always going to be speculation that mum and or dad might be involved and have a case to answer. So I have to ask the question, Jake, is there anything that you're not telling us?
No, nothing.
Anything you haven't told police at this point?
No, nothing.
So you or no one that you know has anything to do with Cleo's disappearance?
No.
Megan, there's nothing at all. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything at all. Like the creep that took her, I'll try and show you photographs later, but he had nothing got to do with any of this. Bar feeling probably some guilt that he should have waken up or protecting her a bit better. He didn't do anything.
And Ellie, I have to ask you the same question.
No way. We love our daughter.
Exactly.
And we want her home.
All right. Here we go.
How does it feel knowing that people do form these theories and that somehow you fit this theory?
I can't imagine what that feels like. For someone, you know, if they've got kids, they know what it feels like to be a parent. And there is no way that either myself or Jake could have done anything to hurt our daughter.
What do you think happened?
She was taken.
Someone's taken.
As simple as that, or are there other things that are really weighing on your mind? You know, what does your gut tell you happened?
She's taken. She's gone.
Taken.
She's been taken from our family, from somewhere she's meant to feel safe, and she's been taken.
It's so brazen, isn't it?
It is.
It is brazen, isn't it? Going to a text like that.
I can't even explain to you.
If she wasn't found, people still right now would be accusing
what we've
parents.
gone through. It's
Sarah Me, thank you so much.
It's terrible.
You'll get access there now to all the back.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Live streams.
Yeah, so this is where everything starts to come together for me. When I am in traffic and somebody cuts me off, I pull my head back, I blow out air, I throw my hands up. And you can see that same exasperation in her, that, you know, that kind of thing when asked about, you know, her doing this. And then she starts to go into internal conversation. She looks at what she needs to say to this interviewer, and she makes eye contact with him, and then she breaks eye contact and she comes back. As she starts to talk to him, her eye contact the timing is good. They're the right words. And this, Mark, is where I say people are going to find chaff and redirect, because you ask a question and she goes in a different direction. But what she's answering is, how could anybody feel that way? How could anybody feel that way? And you can see as she's making that great 50-50 eye contact, looking at him, looking away to think.
If you haven't seen it, I have a video on my channel about it's the thumbnail is "She's Crazy" and it's pointing to Candace Wells and another woman. I won't say much about it, but if you haven't seen that, watch that. And it talks about what a mother is meant to do when her child goes missing, and one particular mother and what she did over the course of 20 years and how she acted, and people called her crazy and she was in denial, but she got her day in court and she was right.
In the beginning. So that's what I got on this one. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, disgust and contempt on the idea of people who have that idea about them. So there's and she turns and she gives a targeted eye as well, mixed with your anger that you were putting in there as well, Greg. She's not happy about the idea. There are some strong emotions about anybody out there who's going to say, well, you're part of this. She doesn't get why anybody would accuse her, and there's three strong signals that are hard to deliver in those micro expressions, and at that, that speed, in that kind of concurrence, that it can be anything other than it's really how she feels about this. And this says to me that they're not protecting themselves. They are, because that we'd see lots of lean back, we'd see move away. There's more of a sense of going in and pushing out at external forces. Synchronicity there again on she was taken. That's a tough one to act out, because you don't know when the person who's made up the story with you is going to do it. So when you get it that close together, it's like, wow, you've done that at least 3 or 4 times. That's lucky or true. More likely true than lucky. You can't get that lucky on your synchronicity.
But like when you think back to it, of course they knew that she was taken. She's not going to get up and wander off in the middle of the night. It is concerning how Don jumped to that situation very fast.
What we've gone through, now the emotion is now building in the male. I think we get a bitter taste in the mouth. We get some chin boss action. We get a throat swallow there. I think he is suppressing the feelings that are building up. Why he's doing that, I don't know. I think we see him do it in the first set of videos as well. I think it's just his personality, his character, that he's not going to be demonstrative with his feelings. He's going to push them in, push them down. Again, I don't think that's the kind of character we as a public really want to see in this situation. All those films out there, when everybody, something bad happens, everybody gets on their horses, gets their guns together, and they ride out as a posse, and they get the thing sorted out. He's not part of that posse right now. It doesn't feel that way to me, so he's not giving me the kind of character that I'd really, really like in that situation. Again, when we're confused, we make people mad or bad on the whole. So understand, we're confused by him a little bit. We're most likely to try and make him bad. And they talk about their own feelings. And to your point, Greg, and so look, let's give you another Chatham redirect. That could seem like Chatham redirect again, but that's kind of the question they were asked. How do you feel about this? And so that's where it ends eventually. And if we look at the end of it and go, why are you talking about your own feelings right now? You could start to go, well, you're very self-centered. Clearly you are a narcissist because you're talking about yourself. No, just answering the question eventually. So that's all I got on that one. Chase, what do you got?
I think so, Perry Dot.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The husband's mumbling these answers. I think it's his baseline. I think it's his normal behavior. And I think if you watch the husband's face here, there's some emotional grief right when he says what we've gone through. I'm sorry, right when the mother says what we've gone through. And with the mother, Cleo's mom, a comfortable eye contact, there's even breathing rate, there's no pupil changes, there's eye closure during recall of negative things. So while the question is going on, I think this prolonged eye closure is her recalling all of the horrific things I have no doubt that they've imagined that are some potentiality out there. So I think it's...
And you would, wouldn't you? You may imagine what's happening, what's he doing to her. Dom was very open about it very fast.
With the husband, that he would also not harm the child, or that they would both not harm the child. And I think that's an interesting data point. Does not mean deception. I think she was just looking for a group confirmation and just for him to say that. And with that said, there's there's a few different ways to avoid eye contact, and avoiding some eye contact, even well over 50%, is in many circumstances charismatic. If you watch Bill Clinton do an interview, this looking away, he'll look away for recall, and he'll look away to recall details of a story. He won't look away while the person is speaking to him, which I think is interesting here. And I think this is just this person's baseline to kind of show some kind of deference, and especially to someone who is probably, no doubt, a local celebrity or someone that's well known on television. So a perceived authority figure. Greg, what do you got?
All right.
Got Scott.
Greg Rouse. Sorry.
What we got to do is, at some point, we got to switch places and put our own backgrounds and each of us imitate one of the other ones.
That would be a funny short one.
That would be
That could be a
interesting.
funny short one.
A lot like Vaughan just
Scott.
at the moment.
I can do you two.
Try and stay
Easy.
away from it. Just looking for a bit of attention.
All right. Greg's
All
would be
right.
easy, just this.
Game on.
Flat-faced. I'm just relaxed.
Yeah. Okay. A couple things bother me here. Every time they connect, every time they make eye contact, this guy quickly snatches it away. He looks, then bang, it's gone. This is where I started turning and going, you know what? Something might be up here with this guy. But not saying he did anything. But I've got to tell you about at the end about. I've discussed it with Greg, so you know what I'm talking about, where I'm going with it. But I think we're seeing a little guilt there. That's what I'm seeing.
Thanks, Peggy.
We'll get to it. So hang with me. I think she's given too much information here for that question. I think she did go off a little bit off the path what he was asking. I think she gave a little bit too much information. And then when she says she's been taken from somewhere, she needs to feel safe. That's so weird. That's so weird for that section right there. Why add that? To me, that's a red flag.
She wasn't safe.
I can't get
Guilt?
worked out. Maybe you guys can. And then the dad is still too quiet, too many ticks on that cat. So those are the things that are bugging me. Like I said before, I'm keeping these short.
How does it feel knowing that people do form these theories and that somehow you fit this theory?
I can't imagine what that feels like. For someone, you know, if they've got kids, they know what it feels like to be a parent. And there is no way that either myself or Jake could have done anything to hurt our daughter.
It's very decisive. I mean, she looks from there
What do you
again.
think
That's
happened?
always when she's saying we.
She was taken.
Someone's taken.
They know what happened. They know someone
Are
took her.
there other things that are
She's gone. Where else she go? She
really
don't wander off.
weighing on your mind? You know, what does your gut tell you happened?
Just she's taken.
Someone's
She's
taken
gone.
her.
She's been taken from our family, from somewhere she's meant to feel safe, and she's been taken.
It's so brazen, isn't it?
It is, and I can't even explain to you what we've gone through. It's terrible.
Okay.
It's terrible.
I mean, it sounds like you're pretty experienced campers. I'm a camper. When I go to bed at night, you know, in a tent, I feel quite comfortable. I feel at ease.
That was another thing when it happened. I think they went on a Friday evening after work. It would have been about 6 o'clock when they left for camping, which I thought was one of the weirdest things ever. Who would go camping at that time? Would you not wait till the Saturday morning? But very quickly, a lot of people from Australia came out and said that's pure normal over here, that they do it. They'd always go Friday.
When you hear movement around you, you know, howling wind, crashing waves, birds, sounds of nature, other people's footprints, anything like that. It's staggering, isn't it, to think that someone would come into a tent in the middle of the night.
It's absolutely disgusting.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
This is a great expression of disgust. Perfect example while the person is actually saying disgusting, right on Cleo's mom's face here. And the interviewer is kind of stepping into this territory of telling their story for them, and then just kind of asking a really tight, closed-ended question at the end of him telling their story. I thought that was pretty unusual. The husband shows this symmetrical expression in agreement to being an experienced camper, which I think is a great, interesting baseline thing there. And this hushed tones and mumbling is not helpful for everyone, because probably his baseline in the presence of a perceived authority figure. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I see disgust, but if your eyes are not accustomed to looking for disgust, this is a hard one for some people to see because of the shape of her face. And we associate disgust often with all of that movement in the face. And it's a little more subtle in her face than it is in a lot of other people. Yeah, it stands out to you and to all of us, I'm sure. But a lot of people may miss that one because they're looking for wrinkles and all that, and we don't see it as much. I will say I watch him mouthing as he's paying really close attention with a confirmation glance, as if, where's this headed? And then she does that confirmation clench, that thing she does again to say, yep, we are. Oh, yeah, sure, we are. We're big campers. For me, there's not a whole lot here, so I'll leave it at that. But her eyes cast down into her right again, into an emotional state as she's thinking about footsteps and those kinds of things, or footprints, as he calls them. So, yeah, that's what Scott, what do you got?
All right. I think what's happening is we see that
Here's
big,
Scott.
I think we're seeing relief on her face and confirmation as well. When he goes off, when he leaves that one subject and comes to this one, it's sort of a relief for her. That's what I did. This is starting to bug me. So I think we're seeing too much relief from her.
It's a horrible
to get
subject.
when he
She'd be glad to
moves
just
on to
get
the
past
next
that. That'd be
question.
the worst thing
And then
about this interview.
comparatively, the father shows still little or no expressions whatsoever. When he talks like a ventriloquist. His mouth hardly moves at all. Whereas hers are over the top. They're really heavy. She's got a lot going on. And then the part about disgusting, that bothers me too. I don't think you go down the road and say, well, what do you think about someone would come over to a tent in the middle of the night and take your kid? She said disgusting. It's not disgusting. That's scary. That's evil.
Any Australians here? Because I think this is pretty common in Australia to call anything disgusting. Well, not anything, but you wouldn't not use the word in a situation like this. I think Chase this might be where Chase pulls him up on that.
Evil. That's conniving. That's bad. I don't say that you think it was disgusting. Disgusting sounds like something that the person would do and to your child afterwards, but not coming in being disgusting right out. For doing it, that's not disgusting. That's horrible.
I think so, Mary.
This is getting a little iffy for me. At
You
this
would be
point.
imagining the threats and stuff
Disgusting
you're
is
getting
my
on
wife's
social media
favorite
as well.
word. So
I think that's cultural.
Okay. It could be cultural.
If my
Okay.
grandma called something disgusting, is a word.
Okay.
I think
they're all
right.
from,
I think it's
they're all
directly tied
ex-UK.
to imaginary events of what they're wondering has happened to her.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think that's just tied together. She's been imagining all this stuff, and that's tied 100% in with the disappearance of Chloe.
I just broke rule number one. I didn't take, when you're seeing body language, and it's one of the first things I train. So you got to decide whether you've seen something that's cultural or limbic, the behavior. It's Joe
Hey,
Navarro
Kellogg's,
opens with that.
is your second in
That's it.
Kellogg's,
That's
Johnson?
what his own, and I've just gone down that road and just all over it. Dang it.
Well, at least we're here.
That's
why we meet.
Y'all caught me. Thanks, fellas.
It may not be cultural.
May not be.
cultural.
That's my guess. My guess is it's cultural, but I don't know.
could be microculture. I'm not kidding you. Dina uses that word more than most. She'll look at people and go, "Oh, that's disgusting." With something somebody's wearing, with you name it, it's a word she uses a lot.
It's common. It's common in WA. I lived in WA, Perth. Disgusting is a pretty common word.
All right.
Yeah, I know it was Chase who pulled him up on it.
I was wrong.
You were.
It's tough. It's tough to say.
Just edit it.
No,
Just edit it again. That's
yeah, I
twice
was
after
wrong.
saying this
Okay.
and this now.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so experienced campers, we get, again, synchronized movement. Why would they lie on that? So, again, it's a great baseline for when they're telling the truth. There's a lot of synchronization within them. It isn't that they've sorted this story out beforehand. They're just very complicit. In the tent, I feel quite comfortable, I think, says the interviewer. She gives a big eyebrow raise of recognition. I think some of the heat is off there, Scott, because she's found a bit of a friend, somebody who understands the nature of camping, essentially. And also the heat relief, maybe the heat is off them. Well, why is there relief around that? The internet, YouTube, Facebook, you're incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
And if you put your resources on finding the real perpetrator, that could save a life. I'm sure it does many, many times. And
It definitely does. But it's interesting also all the energy and time that people go into thinking about Don and Candace and writing about Don and Candace and making content about it, myself included. Just imagine if that time and energy was put somewhere else.
it is and who the
You don't have
YouTube to go and find my daughter, I would be super relieved that we're on the right track. So I think it could be around that. Nods of approval, and the arms fold even more, which again helps me understand that there's a baseline of folded arms, and then there's when they fold them even more to say that's done. That's our decision.
Thanks, Laurie.
On this. Disgusting. So, and I think, to the earlier point there, Scott, there is potentially some cultural stuff potentially around just how powerful the word disgusting might be more powerful than you and I would use potentially. There, I'll just leave it at that.
It's terrible.
I mean, it sounds like you're pretty experienced campers. I'm a camper. When I go to bed at night, in a tent, I feel quite comfortable. I feel at ease when you hear movement around you, howling wind, crashing waves, birds, sounds of nature, other people's footprints, anything like that. It's staggering, isn't it, to think that someone would come into a tent in the middle of the night.
It's absolutely disgusting.
All right. The closest I ever went to camping was the summer my dad grew a beard.
I know that the whole state, the whole country is
that.
desperate for good news for you, for resolution. To the people who are watching, right, we'll say to them, and if you directly.
If you know anything at all, call the police, because we want our daughter back, and she wants us.
We again when she looked at her.
Our daughter, Isla, she needs her big sister. We need her home.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
She starts with a minor lip withdrawal, and when people pull their lips in, we always
And I think that answer would be obviously kind of scripted as well. The way she said the daughter's name is personalising a bit for people watching.
He looks ready to start saying something. Jake, the husband, looks like he's ready to start saying something, even raises his hand. And then suddenly she starts to talk. There again, there's a leader and a follower in this relationship. Then there's a genuine expression of grief. She has grief muscle right here, specific to her muscles. Muscles come together, 5 of them involved. And then when that frontalis muscle tries to blast through request for approval, it still can't. Her forehead is still locked. She's moving, she's jerking around because she's agitated. We always say that shows you that someone is feeling agitated. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that she is feeling guilty. It doesn't mean that she is feeling not guilty or angry. It means she's agitated. That's all we're going to say with that. You guys may see something else that goes with it. She again exposes her lower teeth. We usually associate that with anger or frustration or that kind of thing towards someone. And then the red flag is she doesn't mention her daughter's name. But she has a pattern of mentioning
It's day 10.
daughter,
She was filming on
daughter,
day 18.
daughter, and then she even calls out Isla, and she says daughter Isla. So is it a pattern? Is that the way they talk about their children? I have people in my family who refer to each other as brother and sister. It's not the way I function. I call people by name, but people can be different. So I don't know in this case. That's the red flag and the only one I see. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I think we're seeing mostly honest signals in both of the parents here. That wife is doing a confirmation glance to the husband right at the moment when she's saying, we want her back. So we're starting to.
Why were you disappointed, Tennessee? Because is it because he said that he didn't think they did it, but maybe have guilty knowledge that he didn't maybe go harder? The thing that I was disappointed about is I think he offered them rehab, very expensive rehab for a couple of months to go and get clean and get sober, and they turned that down, which was a great opportunity for them.
A little red flag from something where the mother is communicating to make you identify with the family and the big sister. And there's an emotional appeal for her return, but there's no emotional appeal to the missing child. To like, here's her name. She had blonde hair. This was her favorite movie to watch. No mention of what the child needs or what she loves to do. And I don't think that's guilty. I think there's still a very direct focus on the return of.
Guys, I'm curious to know why you were so disappointed in the Dr. Phil one. What were you looking kind of for over?
That is mostly honest for everybody there. So I don't think there's any red flags in that video there. Mark?
Yeah,
I do, Laurie.
This is an organised appeal for help. The number comes up below. We'll put that number down below as well. Because I think the focus here is to get people active.
I think it's interesting. This was done on day 10, so they didn't know at the time. And I think it's very interesting, the flags that they kind of raise about him and the kind of suspicion that they go. If you did three of them kind of do pull back now a lot towards the end, but I just think this is very interesting looking at this because it was done when they didn't know. But the Ellie had ruled them out, said they're not involved.
You may well see what you think might be red flags in there. If you do, I would suggest you just discount them completely and focus on that number and focus on getting this kid's picture out there, especially if you're in Australia right now. I don't see any red flags that can't be utterly discounted and just a concentration put on that information and the phone number. Scott, what do you got on this one?
I got some red flags.
Well,
sorry, fellas. This makes me feel weird, man. I know we're all going down the same road, but there's some things in here that bug me. We did see that. She's got the hugest grief muscle. We don't see much in the glabella, but boy, we see a huge grief muscle. Mine's small. I can almost do it now. I can barely see it right there. But hers is this whole, almost her whole forehead. He's too quiet. He's just too quiet in this thing. And then her answer is odd. That's an odd answer. That's how she pieced all of that together was odd. You'd think she'd know exactly how she feels and exactly how to say this, and she doesn't. That irks me. Something's not right there. I got to say it. Probably wrong. Hope to God I'm wrong. And again, yeah, you guys, Greg covered as well. Doesn't say the child's name. This kind of bugs me. So I'm done. Just want to say that.
Wait, good? Scott, give it a 1 to 100% chance of truth.
Truth. I'm going to say it's 8. I'm going to give it 80% truth.
I wanted you to say that because I don't want anybody to think that you're saying this video is full of deception.
And I'm glad he asked that, because if he didn't ask that, people would take him as being 95% sure that they were guilty.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it took me until today to come up with my decision, what I thought. I mean, it's that complex.
So it would have been Greg and Scott were kind of leaning towards they were involved. And Mark and Chase were thinking that they weren't.
First set of videos that came out on day 4,
exactly.
and we're not looking at those, okay? But if you do look at those, you will hear that the child's name gets mentioned many, many times and early on. So
they do look at one clip from the fort at the end, so I think there was some bit of editing done here to bring it back a small bit.
Awful sense of hopelessness starting to happen at this point, and a sense of denial starting to happen.
We need to blast through these because you can see adrenal fatigue in these guys. I mean, they are worn out. You can see it. Now, I've said that before when we're talking about McCann's and people are going to beat me up. Oh, yeah. But I'm going to tell you, until you've been through something that taxing, you have no concept of what that does to your psyche, what that does to your hopelessness, all that stuff that you can't put your head around. And people will say it's different between the death of a child and the loss of a child. No, our systems are very primitive. They're not that discerning. When we're under duress, we're under duress.
Go and look
and
at
over
that
a long
one,
period of time,
maybe next, Mary.
it wears through on a person. So, yeah.
I know that the whole state, the whole country is desperate for good news for you, for resolution. To the people who are watching tonight, what would you like to say to them? And if you want to speak to them directly.
If you know anything at all, call the police, because we want our daughter back and she wants us. Our daughter, Isla, she needs her big sister. We need her home.
All right.
There's also every chance that her abductor or abductors might be watching this as well, Ellie. So again, if you want to speak to them potentially, directly, what would you say to that person or persons?
I wouldn't even know what to say to them.
Please bring our girl back.
Yeah, just bring her home. She's everything to us. And she belongs at home with her family.
On this one, when he says, does he hit her arm? Do we see in that there when he hits her arm and says, please bring our daughter home? Did you guys see that? You know what I'm talking about?
It's it.
Okay. When he
Keep her
hits
on
her arm,
message.
she says, I don't
Sarah, I'm very sorry to read that. It's terrible.
know. I can't tell if that's, I don't know. Some of the stuff's starting to bug me because that's
Regulator.
the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Is it regular?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but that's
keeping
the
her on
wrong
message.
That's the
I
wrong
would say.
answer, though. Yeah, that's the wrong answer. Because the answer is, I don't know what I'd say. You know what the answer is. Your answer is, I would, it's
Yeah, she can't say that. And this is going to be a scripted answer from the Ellie as well. She's going to come out and say, I'm going to find you and kill you. Wait till I get my hands on you.
Police have told them to say.
Oh, there you go.
no, I know. Or you would say, or you would say, please let my daughter go. We'll do whatever you need. That kind of thing. So your emotional answer is first, and it was what you want, and then you most likely answer that way. If the police told you to say that, but that just sounded like an odd answer to me, and I don't think she was prepped for that answer because she did, unless that's what he was hitting her for, was to say, remember they said to, okay, that's what that could be.
Regulator. It's a regulator. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
think. Yep.
yeah. That's what bugs me. That's the part that bugged me. And then she had grief in her forehead, and but he swallows in all the wrong
He's
places.
very uncomfortable,
when that's
isn't he?
happening. But he's probably nervous, and he knows, yeah, you're probably right. The cop said, hey, here's what you got to say, and she's forgotten to say it. That's
This probably isn't the best video either for him to be selling all those books and courses that he has behind him.
feels funky to me. All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to point out the two red flags because they are red flags and we have to call them out. Number one, I don't know what to say. Well, I would have rehearsed this, and I think you're right. The regulator is like, no, you know what you need to say is this. Then the other red flag is she blocks her eyes when she's talking, but I think it's because of tears, so I'll give her a pass on that. She starts off, and here's the good news part of the body language. She condemns by pursing her lips. You can see her doing that slight lip pursing. She withdraws her eyes upper left.
Malroy, that's
either to
unbelievable.
control
Well
emotion
done.
or like, I would kill them, and controlling it and rolling your eyes as if to speak. You see the grief is so pronounced. She's got great eye contact, and she's illustrating with her whole body. He reaches out to rescue her with that. I see that rescue. I see that.
Exactly,
Don't
Laurie.
let me say
All the
this.
looks were when they're
And I
talking
don't
about
think
weed
he's
there and
the
sick.
leader in the group, so I don't think you see that. And then you see her brow go down. This is there's anger in this expression, and I think you got to be careful with it. But this is the best grief of the entire interview right here. That grief across, and he's focusing for what's next. So I see this. This is where I turn the corner. Before now, Scott, I was with you. I was all over the board. But two things leading to now were in number 4, that clear message that looked like chaff and to redirect. And this message in number 7 changed my mind. So that's where I was at. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree.
So it wasn't until he got to this one that he changed his mind. But I think Scott still has problems.
There's no mention of the name. And in the mother, there's genuine grief. This big breathing is genuine emotional, just a release. And there's an emotionally primed plea to bring her home back to family. And I think part of the lack of affect on the stepdad could potentially be assignable to the statistic that
this is why they didn't take that video down, lads. Still getting the views.
a step parent is likely to lose hope first. So that he may have given up on the idea that she's going to survive because of statistics are going to say the child will typically perish within a few days.
This is day
God
10,
forbid,
remember.
of course, we're all still praying for. I think that's possible. Let me tell you a couple of things that might be interesting. That typically the offenders that do things like this are under the age of 45. They are well liked by people in their community most of the time, and they typically don't have charges before. And this is typically, like we said earlier, an opportunistic time. And just speaking to the behavioral profile, they've typically had problems with alcoholism. They lack empathy. They kind of have a passive personality. They move frequently, not state to state. Maybe he stayed in Western Australia or that area. They often don't have a criminal background, and they feel like or act like they relate better to children than adults. And they typically...
I think that might be just weed, Carol, is it? I can see a lot of the... Do you know what? I'm just after cutting him off there on a good point.
And they typically will rationalize their abuse as helping or protecting the child.
What he was saying there is they relate more to kids. And if you've seen the photograph of the guy who did this, and his doll collection in his house, and I think Bratz dolls, just come so creepy. And he definitely related better to kids.
And which is equally disgusting to anything I could ever see on the panel. But if maybe that's helpful for somebody who's at the campground or somebody who knew somebody at the campground. We can only hope. Mark.
So her head tips back to clear those eyes. There is a lot of grief there. I think she doesn't say what we might expect her to say because I think it's outside of her usual norm of on TV. You know, here's the boundaries within which you stay. I think she's suppressing likely what she really, really wants to say about this because unfortunately, I would suggest their only hope here is to plead around the power of the perpetrator to return the child, which is unfortunately unlikely. But it's
he's wrong with
about
that
the
time,
only
God.
chance. And so I think that's why we get
underestimating the Australian
Here's
LE.
what you got to say, because this is our best go at this. This is our only hope at this. It's unfortunate. But I think that's why we get the behaviours that we see there. Pretty awful. That's all I got on that one.
There's also every chance that her abductor or abductors might be watching this as well, Ellie. So again, if you want to speak to them potentially directly, what would you say to that person or persons?
I wouldn't even know what to say to them.
Please bring our girl back.
Yeah.
He does talk out the side
Just
of his mouth,
bring
doesn't
her
he?
home. She's everything to us, and she belongs at home with her family.
Okay, cool.
Do you think someone
The last one, no.
knows where Cleo is, or someone?
Someone has to. It's been 4
But,
days.
like, I'm going to go back.
And
Or I don't need to. Look how pissed off she is. This is earlier on now. She's raging. She's sitting in the thing. How quickly she answered. Someone has to, because someone does. She knows someone took him, so she knows someone took her. So she knows there's at least one person. But look how comfortable, how decisive she is, how quick she answered.
yeah, they have to.
Do you fear someone has taken her?
We hold hope that, she's here, because if I think about her being taken, it's pretty, a million other things cross her mind. But I mean, that's why everyone else has their job, because that's what they're here to do, to find her.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so I would say straight off with the answer here, they locate instantly that there will be somebody that knows. This isn't, as Chase often says, the missing purpose.
That's that one. Look, that's been long enough. I might leave that one there. Do you want to just... I'll see if I can find the video and they found Cleo. Because it's lovely. Where he kept asking her, what's your name? And then she was, my name is Cleo. There's actually a podcast called My Name is Cleo as well. It's not very good. It's a bit rushed. They don't have the full details and the stories. But if you want to know more, definitely check it out. This is her coming out of the house.
Cameron, how are you? Are you okay? We're going to take you to see your mummy and daddy, okay? Is that good?
Is that all they're giving us there? There's a bit more to it than that. So I think they waited for him to leave, and then I'll put my name is Cleo. Then went into the house. She was inside. I think maybe like 12:01 in the morning. She was up in the room, brightly lit, playing with all his dolls that he was posting on Facebook. Okay, it's just the audio. Have a listen to this.
I've got her. Hey, Bobby.
Bring the camera in.
Come here.
Imagine the relief when they went in there and realised.
I've got you, Bobby.
What's your name?
You're alright.
What's your name? What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name is
You're alright,
Cleo.
Bobby.
Hello,
Cleo.
Amazing, isn't it? 18 days. Right, so that's Cleo and the behaviour panel, all the red flags on that. I want to have a look at, I think many people, you might have seen this video, but Karmarie Holland. Mother, where's that coming from?
Are you okay? We're going to take you to see your mummy and daddy, okay?
This is a terrible case from December. So she basically sold her daughter. She didn't have custody of. I'll play this video. This is one of my own ones. How many people have? Oh God, it's my voice. Look how frosty it is there. Jesus. I'll play this because this covers the interview.
Karmarie Holland's mother from last month. She gave an interview to her local radio station just I think the day after her daughter's body was found in an abandoned house. I want to play two clips for you. One is of her interview in the radio station, and the second one is from the Russell County Sheriff about, I think, 14 days later. Have a look. Pay close attention to her eyes, her pupils, her little micro expressions, and overall behaviour. Remember, her daughter has just been found viciously. It was 2 days since her daughter was found in an abandoned house. The worst kind of essay you can think of as well. And here she is going into, I don't think I said it in this video, but what she's doing is there's a radio station doing some sort of charity for children and toys collection. She's actually dropping in her toys to the radio station. Assaulted and murdered, and this is her demeanour. She's crying here also, but have a look to see if you can actually see any tears on her face, or if it's just all crocodile tears.
I'm Karmarie Holland's mommy, and she wouldn't want nothing in the world but to donate her toys to another little child that was in need because she was a...
I don't know what happened there. I'm just going to go back a bit. Look at the head on her. There was someone said in this, actually, I think on the original video, and I don't know what they were just talking about the state, but they could tell that she was on crack or met by her hair. I'm not sure how. Like, is there something particular, or just maybe because it's messy? I know, obviously, like her eyes. Look at her eyes.
I'm Karmarie Holland's mommy, and she wouldn't want nothing in the world but to donate her toys to another little child that was in need because she was a very healthy child.
Oh, she looked like such a sweet little girl.
She was a very sweet child. She was beautiful. Sweet soul.
So sorry for your loss.
Thank you. And this is, I see this and I touch my...
I don't know why the quality of this video is so poor. Maybe it's just because it's loading. I don't know. But it doesn't look like that usually.
Alright, so I stopped. That's what she was. Mommy, let's help that, mommy. She's like that.
Try Les Mills Plus free for 30 days. The ultimate.
My ad's trying to tell me to get fed.
Like that. She's like that. She we were at the gas station one time and we seen a family out there, and one of the little girls didn't have shoes on, and she said, "Mommy, we can help them, mommy, because I have so many pair of shoes at home, mommy."
That's probably a lie. Look at her face.
Let's give them my shoes, mommy. And of course we gave them her shoes because she's that caring. She had a heart. She had a spirit that she's been here before, and she was a blessing. She is a blessing.
Is she caught herself there? But she has been found at the time as well. Look at the sores in her mouth.
How are you coping?
I'm coping. I'm making it. The media's making me look like I'm some evil person, but I'm not. I'm a mommy, and
I'll just play it.
I did not have nothing to do with this. She was my life. I lived for her daily. She was my only girl. I had 3 boys and her.
Oh, she your youngest?
She was no, I have one more under her. I have my son under her. And it's hard. It's hard. I don't know if I'm coming or I'm going, but I'm doing it for her.
Do you have any support? Do you have people on your side? Someone's helping you?
Ain't nobody on my side.
Because they all knew.
Tell me about the balloon release today.
Oh dear, her facial expressions there, like pure contempt and disgust because people released balloons and they didn't tell her. She was the one who sold her to this fella as a transaction.
I haven't even mentioned her funeral or nothing. She's here.
She's like,
even fathom what you might be going through, but please know that our hearts and prayers are with you. And I know just at this station, we cover all kinds of news, but for whatever reason, just because of what happened, it has really hit hard for a lot of people.
And that's all you see over social media is her face. She was so loved. She was so loved.
Now she lived in Phoenix City.
Yes, she lived with Dad in Phoenix City, and she was with me. That Sunday I picked her up, and he prayed on her. I can't really talk about it. There's a gag.
Can't talk about it because you were involved.
Okay, and we're not going to try to ask you to talk about that.
Oh, another smile. Oh yeah, thanks.
Is her school doing anything?
I'm not sure. She was in school for like literally 3 weeks and then got kicked out because of coronavirus. Somebody tested positive in class. So we decided not to send her back. But she was so smart. She was just learning how to spell her name. She'd see a K somewhere. She'd be like, Mom, that's K-A-M-A-R-I-E. She was the best little girl ever.
So I understand she wanted to, I read somewhere.
More smile again. She's like, she's buying this hook, line, and sticker.
Princess. She wanted to be a princess. You couldn't tell her nothing. All my makeup ruined, but she wanted to be a princess. She can have it. She can definitely be it.
What would you want viewers to know about your daughter?
She was just the sweetest girl in the world. You couldn't, oh God, you couldn't harm her. She was too sweet.
You could harm her.
Like, you could not harm that little girl because she's so innocent, so smart. She was fantastic. She was perfect.
Well, my heart aches for you. And please know our prayers are with you. I know Tony gave you her card.
Yes. So, I've dropped off some presents and I still have some more. I will bring because
I don't know what she's wiping away there.
So that's definitely what she was. And
More
is
smiles.
there anything that you want to say to our viewers about
life's short? Definitely keep your loved ones close. You never know when it's going to be the end. And
All right. What did I say in the last video about them keeping the story on the child and not kind of focusing back on themselves? What's she going to say here?
Innocent. I had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance or murder. I would never. She was my life.
Of course she was. She's your baby girl.
Exactly. Whoever could do that is just disturbing. Very sick in the head.
Yesterday afternoon at around 1 o'clock in Columbus to arrest Christy Sipple. She has been charged with murder during the course of kidnapping and human trafficking. She was sent to the court this morning at 9 o'clock. She saw Judge Gray and he set no bonds on all of her charges. So she will be held at this time in the Russell County Jail under no bond on those 4 charges.
So she actually called 911 on a Monday morning herself.
I don't think you want to listen to the rest of that. I probably said it there. If you do go back. Yeah, but that's... Jesus, she is... I just seen a comment there. She is arrested. Both of them are. I think they're not due back in court for another month or 2. The guy that did it is going to be up for the death penalty. She was under 9. I think that's the rule in the state they're in. And she's going to be life no parole. It's disgusting. Horrible crime. But it just goes to show, and I was saying in the video, that people do sell their kids. Like, I don't know how you meet these people, how that conversation starts. But it does happen, and probably happens a bit more than all of us think. Poor old Michael Vaughan. This is a really sad one, and I think his mother is amazing. He just doesn't... He never got his Amber Alert because they were convinced that he wandered, and then when they realised he didn't, the kind of 12 hours, that's the suggested criteria in the state, had passed, still hasn't been issued. I think the LE were given out recently that they don't think this got enough attention in the media, which is very frustrating because they can change all that. If they just issue the Amber Alert, say, look, we made a mistake at the time, this should have been issued, we're issuing it now, we'll learn from it and make sure this doesn't happen again. And like, this is a bit harsh, but I do wonder why people don't. Obviously, people do care about Michael, but even if you go back now and look through my channel, I've talked about a good few cases. This is the lowest views. Is it missing white girl syndrome? Is it? I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just such a sad case, and he does deserve more attention. That Amber Alert should have been issued. I'll play this one. I'll play this one again. If it loads. Internet's not working, is it? Two seconds, I just refreshed my internet. I just refreshed that. Frankie Carey, you were so good to me. That's my Patreon, Frankie. Thank you very much. You're one of my first patrons. I think that's the first super chat I ever got.
The unexpectedly refreshing new
You're too kind.
Irish Stout.
It's 26 years yesterday since Amber.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was actually talking about in this video that shows kind of what happened. Michael. No, there has been a few comments. Just been a few comments on this recently. I was talking about this morning in the members chat, and I didn't delete them. I've left them there, but I'm not sure what to do because I don't want to be a hypocrite either. Because the comments are implicating his father. I don't think his father's involved at all. He called the mother. She says she knew straight away the fear in his voice. Michael is on camera at a few of the neighbours. The dogs tracked him to the end of the road. So then I was in two minds about whether or not to delete those comments, but I leave all Don's ones up. We don't him either, so hypocrite if I did. I don't know, maybe I will. But this is just about Amber Alerts, where they were issued, the criteria in the Summer case and the criteria in Michael's case. You probably haven't seen this. Not many people have.
A man went missing. The 9-year-old from Texas, who Amber Alerts are called after. She was kept alive and tortured for 2 days, so her anniversary of when she died, which must be pretty painful for the parents when you have an anniversary every year, and not only do you have an anniversary, it's 3 or 4 days where you're probably putting yourself in her shoes and imagining what she went through. Amber was out cycling with her brother around the corner from a house. She was grabbed by someone in a black SUV. She screamed. There was an eyewitness. The police came. They searched everywhere as best they could, went door to door. There was a few alerts, went out to the radio, stuff like that, and she was found 4 days later. But people were a bit angry at the time because they were like, why didn't we know more details about this, about the SUV? People knew a little girl was missing and they were looking for a girl, but they didn't have the details, and that's where the Amber Alert kind of grew out of. Not only that, her mother was actually involved as well in getting the law passed in the United States that tracks sex offenders. She's played a huge part, and you have to.
She's incredible. That
one must be every year she's going through this. Amber's case is unsolved. They're hoping they can get DNA, or else the partial DNA with some new technology. I think at the moment they're waiting. There's a backlog. It should have been done by now, but there's a backlog with the lab the last 2 years because of lockdown and stuff. It's harrowing when you hear her describe how when the police confirmed it was Amber's body, she still didn't believe it. She still went to the hospital and demanded to see her, even though her body was in bits. And even after that, she said she used to go down to where she was last seen, where she was taken off the bike, and just scream her name, hoping that she'd turn the corner or come home.
That's
Hopefully
horrible,
they'll
isn't
get
it?
some DNA when they do that testing and finally get her some peace of mind. Justice. Case and kind of reaction after the case, and since been over 800 because of Amber. There's an Amber Alert issued for Summer Wells, but another case that I've been following that there wasn't an Amber Alert is little Michael Vaughan. Michael went missing about a month after
He's
summer,
handsome, isn't he?
and there hasn't been much about it. It doesn't get nowhere near the attention that summer gets, unfortunately. He was a little 4-year-old, 50 pounds, light blue t-shirt with a Microsoft logo on it. And
That's actually
dark blue
Minecraft. I made a mistake there.
shorts and
Minecraft.
sandals.
I don't know where I got Microsoft.
Quick timeline of what happened. So at 12:30, Brandy, Michael's mother, left for work. His father, Michael, was at home with Tyler and his 3 siblings. At 4 o'clock, Brandy calls home on her lunch break. Tyler had put the baby down for a nap. Michael was in the living room playing the Switch, like most kids. Other siblings were just around the house playing. At 6:30, Tyler checks on the baby and changes the baby's diaper. 10 minutes later, at 6:40, Tyler orders a pizza. At 6:30 to 6:45, so around the time that he was changing the baby's diaper, Michael must have slipped out of the house. He did slip out of the house. He has done it before, just kind of gone wandering around house to house.
Not
there was
far.
4
Not far.
different
He didn't go to
neighbours
the houses
saw
next
Michael
door.
between 6:30 and 7:15. He knocked on 3 different doors. Each one said they walked him back to his yard or watched him walk back to the yard. Obviously, all the neighbours' homes were searched, and Michael was last seen by a neighbour heading down the street. They think he went out the side garage door, which leads onto the front yard, and kind of wandered from there. He was looking for older children in the neighbourhood to play with. At 6:47, a white Honda Pilot was seen leaving the area that the police are still, to this day, looking to identify.
He only came across this a few
At
weeks. That's why the Amber
7:04,
Alert wasn't issued.
he calls Brandy at work, tells her he can't find Michael. Brandy heads home. She said, she describes the phone call as she got off him. She said he was just out in the street screaming for him, and that she could hear the fear in his voice. She panicked, froze. Her co-worker seen the look on her face and was like, go here, get out of here, go home. So 7 to 10 minutes after Michael went missing, they called 911, which is a lot different to Candace. At 7:15, Brandy arrives home. The police are already there, so the police were there within 5 minutes. People in the community were already, he says it would be very much true as well. Must be just complete panic stations. I don't know how Candace can say that she remembers Jodie Sue holding a purse, little details like that. She
I was
said
just gonna say
people
that. I
were
didn't
out
realise I
searching
said
in
it
the
in the
fields
video.
at 4 o'clock in the morning, community members, and that she was literally outside for months looking. It's a very, very rural area, even though it is a community and there's a lot of houses around Michael, but the minute you kind of zoom out of the housing estate, it's surrounded by cornfields. So the thinking was that Michael just wandered off. There was no Amber Alert issued. There was huge searches. There was everything but an Amber Alert issued. But because I think the thinking at the start was that he just wandered off, they missed the threshold to get the Amber Alert out. So here's the criteria for an Amber Alert in Idaho. A child is known by law enforcement officials to have
This is
been
all
abducted.
recommended, by the way.
If they
Doesn't
look
have to
hard
be
enough in this case and fast enough, they would have realised that. They didn't at the time. The abduction occurred within 12 hours of initial activation of the Amber Alert. So you want the Amber Alert to be fresh. You don't want to be issuing it out days later when the child's clothes can be changed and stuff like that. The child is under 17 years of age. Law enforcement must believe that the child is in imminent danger or seriously bodily harm or death. And there must be enough descriptive information to believe that an Amber Alert will assist in the recovery of the child. Must include much of the following information as possible. The missing child must be entered into the NCIC. So that's the Idaho criteria. And initially it wasn't issued because they didn't think he was taken by anyone. They thought he just wandered off and was out in the cornfield somewhere. Which is tragic because they now have a car that could have been found if they got this Amber Alert out fast enough. I want to play a clip from Michael's mother. He's missing 115 days here now, and just notice the difference between her and her plea and Candace when Summer was missing for 2 days. This is from last month.
Introduce Michael's mother, Brandy. Brandy is representing the Vaughan family today, and she would like to give a statement. So, ready?
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for all being here today. My name is Brandy.
My sound has switched
and I am Michael Joseph
to
Holland.
one side for one reason or another.
I am here before all of you today on behalf of my family.
Do you know what? I'll show you the longer version of the play because it's important. It's important for Michael that people know. I'm going to skip to the end of this, show you the story, and then I'll show you a proper video of the play. That's tough. That's tough to watch, isn't it? I'll go back to it there now after this because
Here's a
I'm gonna
quick
show you
little
this.
sketch of Michael's street. You can see there in yellow, Monkey's house. That was Michael's nickname. So he came out, turned right. That was the neighbour, knocked on the first neighbour's door. Neighbour across the road saw him. Knocked on the second door, which was on the other side of the house. Neighbour across the road saw him there also. Walked down the street where he was caught on a Ring doorbell camera. Knocked on the third door next to that house. And all these neighbours said that they've seen him walk back to us. It must be tough for them to live with that as well. And this little red dot here is the corner of the street where they think Michael was picked up from. He actually found his scent in the neighbour's house and found his scent here as well.
Dogs tracked him into that red spot.
Disappeared. Personally, I think they should release the Amber Alert now. I know it's not going to have the impact and it's a long time ago, but they were complaining in the press conference. The police, and Amber has nothing towards them. She says they're doing everything they can. But they were saying they thought...
Right, I'll show you her plea there now. I know I said there, but I was talking to a few people afterwards I was talking to one person afterwards who I think was talking to Michael's mother at a Christmas vigil or something like that. And she's heartbroken over the Amber Alert. She just doesn't understand why. I think the words that she said to her was, this isn't going to hurt anyone. It's only going to help. And I know I get it. The more Amber Alerts go out, the less kind of effective they are and stuff like that. But just... we have a car. We know he was taken.
I appreciate having everybody here today. I'd just like to introduce those who I have up here with me today. I've got Captain Matt Sly with the Idaho State Police. And I've got...
it's the same thing on this video. My sound isn't coming into one headphone.
And then I
just try and turn up.
Thanks for you. I want to start out by thanking our friends from the media for being here and giving us another
Is that too loud? Is that
opportunity
okay,
to get Michael back in the headlines and at the forefront. Michael's case has impacted everyone who has heard about it, but likely not as much as it has impacted Brandy, Tyler, Michael's family, and the law enforcement officers working day in and day out to find him. I want to express my sincere thanks to you all for being here and covering the updates that we have for you today. The search for Michael will not stop until he's found. And the search remains very active. To the public, the effort may look a little bit different from time to time, but those of us in law enforcement leading the search and the investigation, Michael's on the top of our mind. He's our top priority, and finding him is an intense daily part of our lives.
Guys,
Michael Joseph
if you
Vaughan
haven't
was
heard
last seen near his residence on Southwest
I
9th Street at approximately 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. The first missing and endangered child alert went out at 8:20 p.m. with 4 different alerts to email, phone calls, text messages being issued to the area residents until 11:20 p.m. that night. Michael's image and information went out to law enforcement nationwide and a database called the National Center for the National Crime Information Center, and Michael has also been entered in the State of Idaho Missing Person Clearinghouse. From the time of notification, an exhaustive search effort and criminal investigation began simultaneously. So our ground searches are based on the highest probability that Michael may have wandered off, potentially gotten hurt,
She's still
stuck in an
frazzled. Look at her
irrigation
there,
ditch,
she's still
a
frazzled. It's
swimming
110 days later.
pool, an outbuilding, an old appliance, a junk vehicle, anywhere a 50-pound curious boy could hide himself. We wanted to make sure that all the ground within a one.
If you haven't heard about this case and you are living anywhere over in the States, please share his picture, share his post, or have some of the community tab on your social media and stuff.
The 2-mile radius from Southwest 9th Street, where Michael lives, has been searched by residential homeowners, professional searchers, law enforcement, and specifically trained canines. And not just one of these groups, but by all of these groups. As such, we've been conducting these searches continuously, even up to this week. On Monday of this week, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue with specialty canines and the Fruitland Police Department conducted searches in the front and backyards of nearly all the homes on Southwest 9th Street, as well as another large acreage off of Northwest 1st Street in between Nevada and Highway 95. On Tuesday, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue with their specialty canines, with the Fruitland Police Department, the Idaho State Police, who had a drone in the air, and the FBI, we methodically searched
the LE
farm
as well,
ground in
and
the
maybe some
southeast
kids from
and
the local
southwest
school.
of
She
Southwest
wasn't
9th
putting up a
Street.
Christmas tree, and they brought a little one down and
we
decorated it and
searched
stuff.
close to 1,000 acres this week.
She said they're like family now. But
why would we continue to search areas
They
that
say
have
they have
been
no
searched
control over the
multiple
animal.
times before? Well, because we haven't found Michael yet, and conditions change. So further, you can imagine going home every night as a law enforcement officer wondering,
see the breath
you know,
over
did
there
we
when
miss
it said conditions change.
Michael, Brandy, and Tyler and the community continues to count on us to keep up the search, and that is why we continue to search. And I've said from the beginning that as long as those resources are available, we will continue to ask for them. Remember that a criminal investigation, that happened at the same time of notification as the time that Michael went missing. And due to the fact that we've conducted multiple searches using every tool available to us with no success, it increases the possibility that Michael was abducted. Until we find Michael, we're considering every possibility and following up on every lead developed, every tip that comes in, and the total number of tips that we've received to date is over 557. And the majority of those tips have been cleared by investigation. The others are currently being worked on. Word of our search has gone worldwide, and tips on where he might be have come in from literally around the globe. Thanks to resources available to us again, every tip, regardless of how many miles away, is going to be followed up on. We're committed, and we work together to support each other. Every day we come to work, we work through the exhaustion. For investigators, there's always highs and lows. Each day we go through these highs and lows, and I can't tell, but what I can tell you is, I can tell you with certainty that the Fruitland Police Department and our law enforcement partners are using every resource available, and we'll continue to look into every possibility until we know exactly what happened. We're steadfast in our commitment to bringing Michael home safely. I want to thank each and every search member, the search teams that have been out here, and each and every investigator for their time and expertise and the commitment they've put into helping us bring Michael home. We also want to emphasize Michael's family, who continues to be fully cooperative, working closely with us on almost a daily basis. We ask the community to continue to respect their privacy. As for the reward for Michael, the reward for Michael's safe return remains in effect, and it's increased. The amount is increased to $50,100, and that's for anyone having information leading to the safe return of Michael.
Still
and that will be
pittance,
available until
she'd
March
give
31st,
everything,
2022.
everything she owns to have him back.
I should also note that Michael's family has made considerable contributions to this reward fund, as have members of the community. And every donation that we've pulled in has been appreciated. I'm going to continue to update our Facebook page periodically during the course of this investigation. I'll continue to do so if we have some significant developments, and our efforts to keep the community informed as the best that we can. And so with that, at this time, I'd like to introduce Michael's mother, Brandy. Brandy is representing the Vaughan family today. and she would like to give a statement. So, Brandy.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for all being here today. My name is Brandy Neal, and I am Michael Joseph Vaughan's mama. I am here before all of you today on behalf of my family to speak about Michael. As much and everyone in our family wants to be up here in front of all of you today, I am here to speak on all of our behalf. I am here to ask you all. I'm here to ask you, please, please for your help. I am here to ask you to please keep Michael's face, his name, and his story in every one of your hearts, your eyes, and your minds. It has been 115 days. 115 days. He has not been home. And we need every one of you. I need you. I need your help to bring my baby home. I need you to see his beautiful smile. I need you to see how happy he is. That smile was one of our most favorite camping trips. He got to see his first beaver dam, and he got to catch so many frogs that day, and he was so excited. His beautiful blue eyes. He was so happy that day because I promised we would go get ice cream cones. And he laughed so hard because his baby sister got to have her first ice cream cone, and it was everywhere. We got to play at the park that whole day. It was warm, it was sunny, and we played catch. We played football until it got dark. I need you. I need your help. I need you to know how much Michael is loved. I need you to know how much he is missed. Our family is broken without him. We miss his laughs, his smiles. We miss his hugs. I need you to know he is such a sweet, fun, exciting little boy. He brings such joy and love to our family and everyone that he knows and that knows him. Michael has a laugh that is beyond contagious. You can't help but smile and laugh when you hear his laugh. We need him home. I am asking for your help. I am asking for, please, please, if you know anything at all, if you know something, please, I am begging. This is my baby. This is my son. I need him home. I want him home. Please, I need your help to bring him home. want to thank all of the community and the extended communities and everyone who continues to keep Michael in your thoughts, in your prayers, and in your eyes. Please keep sharing his picture. Please, any information to help bring my son home. I want the Fruitland State. I want to thank all of them for their continued support. They have become family, and they are his son too. So please, please, please help me. Please help me bring my baby home. Please keep us all in your prayers. Help us home.
Thank you, Brandy.
That's tough, isn't it? Isn't it?
So at this time, I'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Sir, what are some of the more credible tips that you folks have received? I know you said you got near.
It just goes on about the tips there and the chest up. I'll leave that there because I just wanted to look at her. But that's Brandy. Like, what a play. Like, when he needed her to be strong and needed... That's all she can do. What else can she do? And she's pleading for help. Pleading. Thanking the searchers, thanking the LE, asking them to move on. Asking them to keep carrying on. Not kind of feeling sorry for them that they're limping or anything like that. But yeah, if you see Michael's poster or you're living in the States, just please try and share it out there and get the poor kid's name out there. Right, I'll move on to number 4. The main event. I actually haven't watched this in a while because, well, I mean a while now, I mean like a few weeks. And when I thought about doing this, the idea of this kind of live stream, I wanted to purposely kind of not watch it. Just because I get to watch it then on the back of looking at someone who was... 2 people who were telling the truth. One who was kind of lying and just kind of looking, comparing and contrasting that way. Here's Candace. Do I have to reload again? I do. I tried to load all these up, try to be organised. It didn't work for me.
A lot.
Guys, if anyone wants to come up as well, the link is at the top of the chat. Just hit it and come up. It's very easy on StreamYard. It will just open in Safari, mute whatever you're kind of watching the stream on, then you can kind of watch it through your phone. It's really, really easy and quick. If you haven't done it before, take a chance. But as I said here, this is meant to be the unedited version of this interview, but you'll see straight away at the start and throughout it as well, it's cut. It's not a full kind of unedited version or anything like that. There's a lot of editing gone on here. I do wonder why. I wonder if hypothetically down the road there was a trial of parts of this interview, maybe part of that. Because right here now, this is uncut and we're going straight into it. Look at her. For a start. She's zonked. Now this could be more than likely, like if you have a child go missing, there's no doctor is going to have any trouble prescribing you some Valium. But she's pretty zonked there.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and...
she feels in her heart that someone come up and took her. Look back at Cleo's parents. They're like, she was taken. I know she was taken. They don't feel it in their heart. They know because they were the only people there.
Took her, has lured her away from here. Me and
It's cut there again, see that?
my mother and her were planting flowers.
Here we go now with the script.
And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and
Sometimes she forgets to put the washing the hands part in. But I don't believe this part. And I think there's all steps to make us think that she was a helicopter mother. She didn't wash her hands. She didn't keep her eyes on her until she goes in either.
she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said,
But, like, look at the other stuff we've watched now tonight. There could be other reasons why she's lying. Mightn't necessarily mean that she has anything got to do with it. She might be trying to cover something else that she just doesn't want us to know about.
okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into
She's
the
zoned.
kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said,
I don't like this. I'll just
watch
play-
Summer.
Yeah. Like, even if that was something that was said, you don't want to check the boys and not put that out there. Like, if they see this as, we've seen it in one interview already. One of the kids kind of saying sorry, or it wasn't his fault, but like, they're going to see this when they're older and be like, oh shit, was I meant to be watching, or is it my fault? Just pushing the blame onto the boys, like.
I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled.
I covered it in different videos, and there's a few people cover it, but why would she go down there? She already said that she had toys upstairs. This is all part of the script, I think.
Downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Do you want to check outside? Do you want to go back upstairs, Candace, or something? She's just gone already.
I don't go on walks
Cut again.
around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes. And
I'm pausing this for you. I'm pausing this a bit too much. I think at the start of this, people kind of jumped all over the 911. I said 999 in a few videos, and people started giving out to me. It's 999 where I am. But 911, and people were saying, no, like, she ran over to the mothers, or a run would be like doing a chore, doing a job, not going for a physical run. Just kind of look like someone who will go for a physical run. So I don't mind that one too much.
And even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my
Could
daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently.
It's the truck Jodie Sue said she might have seen.
But I wish
Please
they
say
would
don't
come
believe her.
forward and explain themselves. I mean, if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her.
Ooh. So she's just about to say here now, I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like mine. And Don just will instantly here now contradict her.
Her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad. And
The complete opposite to what you just said, Don.
but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew.
It's not a cut. But I think the cameraman here as well, might be here later on. Don is talking, but he'll focus it on Candace.
Right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to. They have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to 9 hours in these woods. And
Look at the difference. He's sorry that they had to spend so many time. And then when ones that we know or think are genuine, know are genuine, it's the opposite. They're thanking them and pleading them to keep going, keep moving. More people help me find my child. Whereas Don feels sorry for him because he knows she's gone.
everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house.
I still would love to know. I mentioned in a few videos and I haven't been able to find out, but they've talked about neighbours in the area not granting the LE permission to search their property. I'd love to know exactly who and how many.
House, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that. Out of love, we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. But, there's always going to be
another cut, and then on the cut he's focused in on Candace. What happened before this cut?
haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world, and we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us. And
that's their dogs, not mine.
Praying for Summer, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts, and that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors, because we just try to be around good people. And we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can, and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but
she's zonked. Look at her, she's zonked. Again, going back to the last few cases where they talked about the focus being on the child and them coming back in their story, or is the focus on them and how they're not involved? No, probably a leading question into that as well, but
that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around, ever.
She loves to dance.
Another cut that was focusing on Candace before the cut.
Dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl," and she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, But I put out there that
he's scrambling here now. He's after thinking about something. And he's going to try and clarify it. And he does maybe 3 times throughout this, where he'll talk about, I think I had it on one of the last videos, how he was referring to her in the past tense. But he's kind of conscious of it, and then he catches himself and tries to refer to her in the present tense.
One of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
Where's the plea? Like, look at Michael's mother on over 100 days since he missing, and there's her song on the porch. Why aren't you pleading for people to come and help?
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and and all that, like all young girls do. And
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa, and
she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know what to think either.
I think she really loved to be in church.
She didn't even finish that sentence.
Because she felt a lot of love there, and I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young, and she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that, because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that.
That brought a bit of heat on Robin as well, I think. Donna's going to talk here about how she looked up to women who were beautiful and strong. I wonder, is Candace taking that as a little dig, maybe?
That church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty, beautiful.
She looked up to those kind of women. She, they were the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it, but she looked up to them.
The opposite.
She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money, and there was times, we.
Even the laugh there is kind of like you would talk about people like that who were deceased, and you'd have a laugh. You'd good laugh with him or whatever, but you don't know she's still missing at the stage. Like,
we'd be, at our boys, like, don't do this and don't do that, and next thing you know, a stick up and just whop them, and it'd be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
Yeah,
she
typical girl.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing.
Sean's smiling.
Enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. She loved to run. She just loved to run, and she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her 2 hands, and she could do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No, she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's been. We did all the.
I'm doing a video on people have made a very good point about her putting this school, this kindergarten uniform on her, and like, she didn't wear it yet. Would you put your child's new uniform on them? Whatever.
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already took all of her shots and registered in the school ready for this year.
I just never expected.
Every time it cuts. it will start on her.
For anyone to get hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
Little girl.
If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might.
I don't know how. Somehow I don't know how. Just release her if you ever will.
Do that. I mean, 'cause you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else.
Some people say, is he talking to Candace there? I don't know about that, but
I'm sure. But please find it in your heart. Have
he did kind of tap her there as well. Did you see that?
mercy and find a way of letting her go, and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her, and and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. My biggest fear is, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time.
I wonder, is this Don's thinking here? Because so he just mentions dungeon and basement. Does he believe Candace here at this time? Is he having questions over her? Because he moves straight from dungeon basement to she loved to be outside all the time. That was her downfall. So is it a case of he knew she wasn't in there because he's like, there's no way, she hated being down here, she would be outside. And then that was her downfall because that's what he maybe thinks happened then. But I do question how much doubts he's had over time, and those are parts where he did. Publicly, he doesn't seem to be giving much away. No, none of them could be involved. Both of them could be involved. I have no idea.
That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. Because a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her?"
Like, well, how was that her downfall if she was meant to be inside a basement and someone came up and took her from there? Does he believe, does he know that she wasn't there?
Out there alone. Go get Summer now. And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
she loved to be outside.
And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything.
I think he tried to cry there, but
nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive, because it's so easy to get, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it. So I'm just, I appreciate y'all for the good things you say and your prayers. That's awesome.
See, I don't know all of what happened or what did happen.
Same thing.
But I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
Well, yeah, there's nothing. She disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope, but sometimes I just.
Do you think Michael's mother lost hope?
And I think in past tense, sorry. But I'm trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
Guys, I'll be honest. I thought maybe think less of it, but I'm worse now. To be honest, I think it was Michael's mother that did it to me.
In 2021, thousands.
Let's get rid of them. That's tough, isn't it? Worse. I think the more you say it, it gets a bit worse. Now, obviously, different circumstances, different conditions, different environments, different people, but see why people will instantly focus in on them and the difference between all four. Which one are them? Are they more like? I need to go back in here now and get my link. Right. Anyone want to come up for chat? I think. She is having trouble forming sentences, and she's zonked in that. And you wonder, I know she couldn't do the lie detector test because she was in such a kind of state like that. And that would have been around this time as well. And like, what's the impact of all those Xanax or whatever other downers you're taking? Go and have on that. I hope not, Jen. Like, how would cadaver dogs have picked up nothing at all on their phone? I don't know. There's a few things that don't sit right with me in terms of she definitely did it, but we don't know everything. We don't know the phone evidence is obviously crucial. The interrogation that happened after the lie detector test, but it's hard to get away from her having nothing got to do with it, really, isn't it? I was saying in one video, even if it was a case of her coming home and getting high and go for a nap, if she came out and told us that, we could probably get over it and accept it better than the story that she's telling us at the moment. She would just, because like the timeline, where is the time gone from 3:30 to 6? She can't fill it. She tells the story like she went over, got the flowers, pointed in, helped grandma with the knee brace, went aside, someone was gone. That's 3 hours, 2.5 anyway at least. Like that doesn't fit at all. Where do you think she was taken from? Do you think it would have been down by the creek, down by the road, or surely can't be the basement? And I'm not ruling that out at all. I just think Candace, she's definitely lying. I just don't know what about. Did she have a nap for 2 hours? Does someone go down playing by the road? Yeah, I've seen that a few times, but like I don't think anything happened at the waterhole. I think she was fine. I think she was fine coming out of there. I think that was normal enough. And I do kind of believe the part where she kind of took off her seatbelt, she jumped up, and then she kind of kicks into the script. The script doesn't start kind of before that. I don't know. The 911 call will be interesting. It definitely will be interesting. I don't think we'll ever get any of that unless we get a trial. I know all about Donald Wayne Jeffrey. Connie made a video on him there the other day. And it was the fact that the LE didn't talk to him. Now, he would have been only 14, 15 when his dad first started going out staying in Bellet Road with his now long-term girlfriend. So he didn't grow up there or anything like that. He wouldn't know the ins and outs like some of the other neighbours would know. Maybe possibly had an ankle bracelet on him as well on the day. But why didn't they go talk to him? His dad said that he's seen Summer playing down by the road with the boys loads of times and had to get out and tell them to get off the road. Like, he's an old child brother, he's ties to the areas. There's not many people in the area. I don't understand why they haven't talked to him. Maybe they have. We're only taking his dad's word for it. Maybe they have, but I kind of believe that they don't. And I did worry about, did the LE rule that out maybe too fast? Are they seeing all the stuff that we're kind of seeing there? Did they see that earlier on and just be like, no, it's the parents. It's definitely the parents. So they put 80, 90% of the reference into parents and didn't really look at, was she abducted? Was she taken? Was she grabbed from the road? Yeah, I think so. She was out all day. She was after having a busy day, so she's going to do whatever she does to relax. I think more than likely probably a big fat joint. Around the time she was mad posting about weed on Facebook, she was a bit heavier than she is now, so I wouldn't think it was maybe crack or meth. And maybe that's all it was. Maybe she just had a joint and was scrolling on TikTok. Took her eyes off someone. But tell us. Just tell us if that's what it was. Yeah. Sometimes I think Don, but I know how he is, but sometimes I think he's believable. I seen a clip during the week of him talking again about the lie detector test, and he just came off so believable. He was wrong in what he was saying, but I believed he believed it. Talking about how things trigger in your brain and you don't have to think about lies, it just comes out. He was talking about the three of them passing the lie detector test, is what he was told anyway off Candace, but the way he kind of told that story just makes me believe that he believed it and isn't involved. Like, how could he be involved? Is everyone giving him cover at work? Giving him an alibi when he shouldn't have one? The car he was in had GPS. How did he get around that? Oh, lip lock, I hope that's... Like, I'd like to think it doesn't happen. But like, we just seen one of the examples where it does. I don't... Do you want to come up for a chat? I put a link in there if you want to come up for a chat. I don't understand, like I was saying, I don't understand how do you get there? Does he start throwing hints out? Do they just come straight over it? And how much of it is going on? Jesus, like. Probably. But tell us that, Carol. If she did, just be like, Carol, I was gone there for 2 hours. I was out of it. Just tell us. We could have some bit of respect for that. Well, maybe not, but it's better than the story that we're getting about this 10-minute story that supposedly happened in 2.5 hours. Yeah, the scream at 4:30. I wonder. When it does seem, I know, come here, I know about Jodie Sue, and have a look at some of the stuff that Jodie Sue has said when someone was alive about those kids, and that'll open up your eyes a small bit. But I do kind of believe her about the scream. And I wonder if it was, which would kind of match up a bit more, if that scream was actually Candace finding Summer. She just left out a holler, or did she find her? Was she left in the car maybe? Did she have an accident on the swing? Just I wonder, was that scream actually Candace finding Summer rather than Summer being grabbed? No problem, look up. Can you hear me? No audio. I'd say my connection looks okay. But they went back again, Anna, didn't they? And they had a look at all the areas again in kind of November. Such a small body as well. I know that stuff is horrible to talk about, but like, such a small body, you wonder about animals. And like, if Candace had to get rid, this is horrible to talk about, but if Candace did have, say that scream was Candace, alright, she finds Summer, horrible accident, right, put yourself, I know it's hard, put yourself in Candace's shoes, dead. Right then, she finds Summer. She was being neglectful for the last 2.5 hours, took her eyes off her, didn't watch her at all. Was she playing hide and seek with the boys and maybe hidden in the fridge freezer? We talked about that before. She knows that CPS are calling. She knows that, right, I'm finding my daughter dead. My boys are instantly going to be taken off me. Don is probably going to kill me. He's going to come home and kill me. My life is done. My life is done. So was the best option of her thinking at the time would be to hide her and fake this. She keeps her boys. I know she lost them later, but you know she wouldn't lose them straight away, and she still has Don. But then, like, where could she possibly put her? Like, she doesn't have a shovel. She's not going to be able to dig all the lakes, rivers, all that stuff. I think were checked. It would have to be just placed in a ditch or some foliage or something like that. But then you would think the body would be found. Would have to. They went through every inch of that place. Where do you think she could have hidden her, Anna? Or maybe it's on one of those neighbours' properties that won't let them search. If you knew the area and you knew the neighbours were like that, wouldn't that be the best place where you could go and hide her body? Because you're like, they'll definitely won't let the LE anywhere near them, so... I seen that about Brandon Lawson. I didn't look into the whole thing yet about where they found him exactly, but I only seen it last night actually. And he's been missing for maybe 10 years, is it? Yeah. Yeah, you're making some good points there. Guys, it's been 2 hours, 45 minutes. Oh my god. Time flies when you're having fun, huh? So this is my plan. I'm going to try and have one of these a week, one on a Sunday, where I'll have a proper... Next week, I know there was a comment there, but I might look at... I don't want to spoil it. Next week's going to be good, though. I want to look at two little... I won't say. You'll have to tune in. I'll tell my members only there later when I do the content stream. But I want to do like one proper kind of good stream on a Sunday. I'm not going to be on for 4 or 5 hours every night a week or anything like that. And just have a bit of structure around it and look at a few interesting things maybe. And please, maybe next time someone come up and panel, will you? Don't be so afraid. I'm not going to bite. Maybe not. Maybe not. That's it. That's it. I'll leave it there. Will I play my music out for you again? I need to go back. It is very relaxing, isn't it? Especially on a Sunday. You're all starting a new week. Positive thoughts. Tom Miles will get locked up tomorrow. Candice will talk. Thanks, guys. Go on. I'll let you go. Good luck. God bless. Have a good day.